the truth.
Hey, what's up guys? Today I'm doing r/ProRevenge. I just want to start this video off by saying that this is my first video, so if the quality isn't as good as you want, or if I stumble over my words a few times, I'm sorry, I'm working on improving that. This ProRevenge took place when I was in high school in the mid-2000s, a time in my country when there was much public outcry over bullying and hazing in boarding schools. A couple of students in different schools had died from injuries resulting from bullying. Other schools were rioting and burning shit. They were under increased scrutiny. It was a whole thing. Personally, my life in high school was not fun. I was a fat boy with a very low self-esteem going into my first year. The bullying I experienced quickly led to depression. I was prone to self-harm and recklessness and a bit of suicidal ideation. The thing that made my high school particularly nightmarish, though, was the sexual abuse. Low-key comments about my sexuality from this group of about 5 boys in the 4th form. They called me and my best friends gay. This social stigma associated with homosexuality here is really extreme. These boys would stalk and terrorize me. They left threatening notes under my sheets. "We're going to fuck you up for being a fucking gay. We're going to fucking rape you," etc. So I only had one close friend who knew what was going on. Ironically, after an entire term of convincing everyone that I was gay, the same group began sexually abusing me. I'll spare you the details, but my first year in high school was the worst time of my life. But you're not here for my sad story, so moving on. Sometime in the middle of the term, the vice principal of our school was changed due to the aforementioned public backlash from the bullying scandals. The previous VP was a decent man, but the new VP was not. He came with a well-earned reputation of being unnecessarily harsh, dishing out suspensions and expulsions like candy on Halloween. A few weeks after the new VP came in, and I'm having an incredibly shitty week that is really battering my mind. Yes, the bullying and sexual abuse was still going on. Now, every Friday night, a group of kids used to climb through a window into the computer lab and play video games. The windows had bars in them, but a slim person could fit through. I'm not slim by any definition, unless the definition is now fat. Among this group of kids was this troublemaker dude in my class, in my dorm, with the same common name. Turns out the VP had confused the two of us, and I was the one in his crosshairs. That Friday, the kids were caught. Some of them, including my namesake, managed to escape. The VP was called in, and the students who were caught snitched. Security was sent to the dorms to bring the other culprits. Cue me being woken up at 3 a.m. in the morning and being dragged to the scene of the crime to ensure a beating for something I hadn't done. Corporal punishment was very legal during this time and still is. My explanation that there was clearly no way for me to fit through the window were not meant with any enthusiasm. What really pissed me off was that the VP had us bring our belongings to his office at night for an inspection with the excuse of searching for stolen computer equipment. He came across my very private journal and, like the dick he was, proceeded to ridicule me for having a diary in front of the teachers, watchmen, and students I was bundled with. It didn't help matters that I broke down and cried in front of them. I don't think I have ever had such humiliation in my life before. The following morning, we were suspended for 2 weeks. 2 weeks later, my parents took me back to school. I had only told them of the mistaken identity that I had suspected and the wrongful accusation. They already knew about the bullying. I didn't tell them about the VP going through my diary of the sexual stuff. I was still writhing in humiliation. The VP, being the absolute bunghole that he was, had convinced himself that I was the ringleader of this group of boys. Again, mistaken identity, and thus deserved extra punishment. He ordered me to clear out a large patch of weeds and overgrown grass between the rugby pitch and the hockey field, about the size of a football field, using only a slasher. Just as I'm about to head out, it starts raining, and it's the middle of July, so much cold temperatures, they usually dip at below 10 degrees Celsius at night. So instead of going to the field, I head to class to wait out the rain. A few minutes later, VP barged in furious, interrupting the geography lesson. He proceeded to tear me a new one, even mentioning my private journal, and then threatened to expel me if I left the field before I had finished my punishment. Mind you, this was one of the best schools in our region. It had actually been my first choice. He then proceeded to cane me again, just to make his point stick. At this point, I just broke. All of this punishment was due to something that I had not done. I was completely innocent, but this asswipe just couldn't listen. The ridicule, the humiliation, the bullying, and the abuse all just came to a head at that point, and I decided to just fuck it all to hell. So I walked out into the rain, slasher in hand, with not even a sweater. This was about 4 in the afternoon. I never returned. I think the VP never really expected me to complete the punishment, but then I doubt he ever had met someone who decided that they had no more fucks left to give either. My initial plan was to crucify him with his own words. Dusk fell, with me cold and drenched ripping up ferns from the ground. By midnight, I was shivering and crying uncontrollably, and it was too dark to see shit. I still persevered and started blindly cutting the grass, driven by this mad desire to just hurt. I really didn't care who I hurt. Sure, a part of my motivation was that if I did get sick out here, the VP would be in a fuckload of trouble, but that was another part. There was another part of me that was just like, fuck it, life sucks anyways. By midnight, I was too cold to continue. I ran out of energy and just sat down under a tree. Towards dawn, I was so cold from the rain and the wind that my shivers began reducing. It was impossible for me to sleep. The teachers finally found me there a couple of hours after dawn. Apparently, the teacher on duty had found my empty desk during the morning study and asked where I was. It came about that I had not been in bed the previous night either. He then called the VP and the other teachers, who began searching the school, and they finally found me in the field. The ProRevenge, it's finally here. I don't know much about what happened immediately after. I was so out of it. I do remember the teachers rushed me to the school nurse, who immediately recommended that I be taken to the hospital. I spent about a week there due to complications, pneumonia, and a very expensive week it was, all on the school's dime. My parents were pissed as fuck, and I couldn't blame them. The school's board of governors convened after my parents contacted them. The days before, my parents and I were called in to speak before the board, and I just had the idea to face my fears and put everything out in the open. I was just done with the school and everybody there. So, on that day, in front of a group of musty old men in the boardroom, I finally shed my burden. I told them everything, my only motivation being to bury the piece of shit VP and my tormentors. I don't think I've ever done anything that scary before. From the mistaken identity, the suspension, the punishment in the rain, the threat to expel me if I decided to seek shelter, and the crown jewel, the bullying and sexual abuse, I laid it all out. I knew that would definitely get their attention. The board called my best friend, who backed me up. The VP was in no position to win a he said, she said contest with us at that moment. The VP was fired that day. A few days later, a zero tolerance policy on bullying was announced. I think the board was actually afraid of finding themselves in the news for all the wrong reasons. They didn't want their school to be one of those schools, despite the fact that it was one of the worst. Over the holidays, my friend told me that things got really serious after that. People didn't know why, but suddenly any act of bullying was met with immediate and unconditional expulsion. As for the boys who had been terrorizing me, they were arrested. My dad went to the police with the threatening notes I had been receiving all year long. The school board supported us on the condition that we, my parents and I, did not take the story to the media. I was happy with that arrangement. I had no desire to be the face of male rape victims. We had a few meetings with an investigator from the public prosecutor's office. A couple of months later, the office reached out, told us that the boys had pled guilty. One of them got off scot-free because his dad was a senior army guy. Corruption. 3 of them got 10 years each. The last one got 18. The topping, they were all in their 4th and final year. They got arrested just as they were about to sit in for their national exams to go to university. Their lives are ruined, and I have absolutely no remorse for them. If you got this far, I just want to say thank you, and I hope you enjoyed the video. If there's anything you want to let me know about the video or something of the sorts, just tell me in the comments below. I'll definitely read them. It's my first video, so I'm still working on improving, and will improve the audio quality in the next video, hopefully. And if you look down there, you'll actually see that I have absolutely 0 subscribers. So I mean, if you want to, please subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. Thank you.